Greetings and salutations, friends! Some more Total War news today with the announcement of Total War Saga. Now, this is an odd concept that I'm not entirely sure what I think about just yet. The basic idea seemed to be taking games like Napoleon or Attila and essentially releasing them as fully fledged standalone games. That seems to be the idea here, because they keep mentioning that there will be a more focused experience like Napoleon or Attila, and also like Fall of the Samurai. But they go on to also mention that they will have much the same scope of normal Total War games. For example, in this comment here, they claim that it will be pretty large. For example, this new one that they're currently planning is comparable in size, map-wise, to Attila, but focused on a smaller geographic area. And they also claim that the campaign will take as long to complete as any other Total War title does, but that it focuses on a single area. Okay, so it kinda sounds to me as if they want to take what was previously the standalone games, Napoleon and Attila, and sell those as fully fledged products. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to that idea, as long as the changes they do are substantial enough. For example, the Fall of the Samurai. I would consider that a very good example of what they could be doing with this, because Fall of the Samurai took Shogun 2 and changed it quite drastically in how it plays, but it left the campaign map more or less intact. I thought that was a great expansion. It really changed the game, and brought a lot of fresh life into it. Napoleon, I would probably consider a pretty bad example, because Napoleon was essentially just a fixed empire. It didn't really add a whole lot of much, it didn't transform the gameplay, it basically just fixed a lot of the nonsensical bullshit in the empire, and gave the game some much needed focus. And Attila, I'm in two minds a bit about Attila. On the one hand, it did change the way the game was played in at least some subtle ways, but at the same time, I wouldn't say it was a substantial overhaul, really. I think a lot of this is going to come down to cost. How much are they going to charge us for this? Which will, by the way, be developed alongside the next major historical Total War game. I think that if they do this correctly, and they add in very different gameplay, like, for example, Total War Shogun, Fall of the Samurai, if, for example, they took Attila, and they brought it up to, like, the 14 or 1500s, and essentially created a mini-medieval 2 Total War, set, for example, in the 100-Year War between England and France, for example. That would probably be pretty damn good. You'd have a bunch of new units, you'd have a very different focus on the game, and you'd have a different gameplay style. I think that would be excellent. Maybe taking Rome 2 and dragging it back in time to the age around, well, how about the Assyrian Empire? Stuff like that. A bit more Bronze Age tech stuff. I wouldn't mind that as well. That would be really cool. I'm just really worried that these will end up as campaign packs, where they, for example, take Rome 2, they take Attila, they give you pretty much exactly the same unit roster, pretty much exactly the same factions, and they just put it into a smaller geographic area. For example, focusing entirely on Attila's initial advance into Europe. It's not a perfect example, I know, but that's what I'm basically worried. That they will be reusing a lot of unit lists and just giving you essentially a new sandbox to play in, which I don't know if it would be as interesting. On the other hand, if they do this correctly, it would essentially be an entirely new, different, and fresh Total War experience, which would be fantastic. I am really interested in seeing the price point on this, as they have at the moment refused to reveal any pricing information. If this gets announced at full AAA's price at $60, I would probably just flat out condemn this as a great move, honestly. That they're trying to take the series in a more of a Call of Duty direction with yearly releases, etc., high prices, and then possibly even DLC on top of these more focused expansions. Which, that, I would not like that at all. However, if they'd ask like $30 to $40 for something the equivalent of the Fall of the Samurai, yeah, I'd be more than happy to see that. So it's really gonna come down mostly to price for me and what they're offering. Again, taking something like Rome 2. How about they focused on Caesar versus Pompey? That would probably be one of the worst examples, because then you'd have a fairly small unit roster, both sides will essentially be using Roman units, and you'd have some surrounding factions that might be able to get involved on this. Perhaps you might, for example, have the rebels in Spain that would use a few more Iberian units. But regardless, the focus would be, I think, to the detriment of the game, since you'd have a very small unit roster, most of the factions would play more or less the same, and it'd kinda suck. But again, Fall of the Samurai, excellent example of a really good type of game. That kinda sounds like what they're going for, so I think this could be really, really good if done correctly, and I also think it could be really, really scummy if done incorrectly. I gotta be honest, I'm not entirely sure I trust CA to do this the right way, but I might just be an old cynic. I'm really interested in waiting to see exactly what they announce here. I'm hoping for some news. They were saying that they're probably going to announce something in the next few months, and we did also get a little bit of a tidbit about the next major historical game, that it's going to be set in an area that they have yet to touch upon. Personally, I'm hoping Pike and Shot, but we'll have to wait and see. Until then, I have been Arch. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.